from all over the world. I welcome you for Alibaba Cloud Community Day event hosted by Multicloud for You and Kuftaya.com. And the topic for today's session is enterprise application using Alibaba Cloud PolarDB. We are going to see how we can develop an enterprise application by using Alibaba Cloud PolarDB. And it is Gavaskar S, Alibaba Cloud MEP and Delivery Director at Multicloud for You. So now moving to the agenda for the session today. First, we are going to see a short introduction about Alibaba Cloud and its global infrastructure. Then we are going to see about introduction to traditional database. I hope everyone may be knowing about traditional databases such as PostgreSQL, MySQL, and SQL Server database. We are going to see a comparison of MySQL databases or that's traditional database with cloud databases such as PolarDB. And we are going to see about PolarDB, introduction to PolarDB, and the architecture of PolarDB, and what are the features and what are the advantages of PolarDB we are going to see. And finally, we are going to have a couple of demo. In a demo, I am going to show you how to create Alibaba Cloud PolarDB cluster and how to create an account in PolarDB cluster or PolarDB instance which is created, and how to create a database. And finally, in the real-time session, I am going to explain you how to create an enterprise application. That is how to create an PHP application by using Alibaba Cloud PolarDB. So I am going to create an Alibaba Cloud PolarDB cluster, and I am going to create a database in Alibaba Cloud PolarDB cluster which is created. And finally, we are going to create an application, end-to-end application by using this PolarDB cluster which is created. And finally, we have a couple of key takeaways for you. We are going to provide a level 1 certification from Multicloud for you, as well as you can get a direct certification from Alibaba Cloud by passing the quiz of 15 questions which is provided by Alibaba Cloud. So that's our short agenda about the session. Let me start the session. So now moving to Alibaba Cloud. Alibaba Cloud is a cloud computing company, and it is a subsidiary of Alibaba Group. It is founded in the year 2009. It provides cloud computing services to its online ecosystem and to the e-commerce ecosystem of all over the world. So now its international operation is registered, and it is headquartered in Singapore. It is ranked number 1 by Gartner in Asia Pacific region and 4th worldwide. So Alibaba Cloud is a cloud computing company, and it is a subsidiary of Alibaba Group, and is ranked number 1 in Asia Pacific region, and we are in Asia Pacific region. And moving to global infrastructure, you can consider any cloud service provider, Azure or Alibaba Cloud or AWS. If you provide a global infrastructure will be there. That is regions and zones will be there. So what is a region and what is a zone, you have to know when you are dealing with the cloud. So regions are the data center, physical data centers present in different locations in all over the world. And in the region, we can have a number of availability zones. In a region, may have more than one availability zones. Similarly, in Alibaba Cloud, we have 86 availability zone and 28 geographic regions. And moving to the content delivery node, Alibaba Cloud have 25,000 to 2,500 plus content delivery node. Now you have to know what is a content delivery node. Now you think that you have developed an application, a streaming application, and more number of proximity user is present in Singapore, and you have hosted your application in the server or in the data center of India, that is in Mumbai. Now you have to provide seamless experience for the user who is present in Singapore. What you can do is you can purchase a content delivery node in Singapore, and so that you can provide seamless experience for the users who is present in Singapore, or who is the users who is accessing your streaming application in Singapore. That's the thing about content delivery node. And Alibaba Cloud has 2,500 plus content delivery node across the globe. That's the thing. That's a short introduction about Alibaba Cloud and the Alibaba Cloud global infrastructure. Now we are going to see a short introduction about traditional databases. So I hope everyone may be knowing about traditional databases. You may work with traditional databases. So traditional databases are, I can tell some examples of traditional databases, that is MySQL, PostgreSQL, and SQL service. So now what is the difference between the traditional databases and cloud databases such as PolarDB? We have to know. So now what is traditional databases? So if you are moving to the traditional databases, you have to know some traditional database terms. That is relational database management system. I hope everyone may be knowing that. We will deal with table, and table contains set of rows and columns will be there. Primary key will be there and foreign key will be there. These are the different terms which is available in the traditional databases. And few examples for traditional databases, MySQL. So this is a open source database, and we can download and we can use it in our on-premise environment or in our own machine. And PostgreSQL, again it is a open source database. MariaDB, again it is another open source database. We can directly download from the net and we can use in our own machine. And you see one more database is there, that is SQL Server. Microsoft SQL Server. It is not open source. We have to purchase, we have to get license for using my Microsoft SQL Server. So this is our short introduction about traditional databases. Now we are going to see what is the difference between the traditional database and cloud database such as PolarDB. So now moving to the certain comparison. So I have done a short comparison between the traditional database such as MySQL or PostgreSQL or MariaDB and cloud database such as PolarDB. So moving to the use cases. So first description I have compared is with use cases. So we can use traditional database for small and medium level applications. So if you want to develop some small or medium level application where you are going to handle GB level of data, you can use traditional databases. And moving to cloud database, if you want to create some enterprise level application, that is if you want to deal with TB level of data, if you want to process TB level of data, or if you want to store TB level of data, you have to deal with, you cannot deal with traditional databases. If you have to go for cloud databases, that is PolarDB or some other cloud databases. So that's the use case you have to know. We can use the traditional database, we can use for small and medium level application. So if you want to deal with the enterprise level application, you have to go to cloud databases. And moving to number of instance or number of nodes available. So traditional database, normally it will be single instance or single node will be there. But in cloud databases, collection of instance will be there. We can create a collection of instance we can create. That is in case of PolarDB, we can create totally 16 nodes we can create, or 16 cluster nodes we can create in PolarDB. That's an important feature you have to do. So single node instance, if you are creating an application in a single node instance, if there will not be high availability, there will not be no high availability, your application will be disaster to be failure. Okay, so now moving to the next of use cases, that's next of the description, high availability. So normally in traditional databases, no, there is no high availability since only one instances are available, and if the instance is failure occurs, you cannot access the database cluster. You cannot access the particular node is not accessible if there is any failure occurs. But in case of cloud databases such as PolarDB, high availability is there. Why high availability? It is due to collection of instances available, collection of clusters are available. So if one cluster fails or if one nodes fail, other node will be active and it will process your request. That's the thing you have to know about cloud databases. Now moving to storage capacity. Already I mentioned that the storage capacity of a traditional database will be in GB level for 2 GB or 3 GB or 4 GB, like that we can store the data. But in case of cloud database, we can store 100 GB of data. 100 TB of data. In case of PolarDB cluster, we can store 100 TB of data. How it is done? Now you have to know how it is done. It is done by using distributed storage technology. So data is not stored in a single node. Data is stored in a cluster. That is, multiple nodes are used for storing the data, and we can achieve TB level of storage by using Alibaba Cloud PolarDB or by using any cloud databases. And read-write splitting. It is another feature you have to know. It is not available in traditional database. So both for reading and writing, we have to use single instance we have to use in case of traditional database. But in case of cloud database, we can have read-write splitting. For reading, we can use separate cluster or separate instance we can use for read operation, and for write operation, we can use the primary node or primary cluster we can use for write operation. So this I will explain when I am dealing with the demo. So this is the thing, important feature you have to know. Read write splitting is an important feature. When more number of read requests is we get more number of read requests from the client, we can create a separate read-only node so that it will process the read request for the different clients. So in case of enterprise level application, you will get more than lakhs of read requests from the clients. So if you want to process that by a single node, it is not possible. So we are going to create separate read-only node for processing the read request alone. So this is the thing we will tell. So totally we can create 15 read-only nodes in PolarDB, and one primary node we can create. Okay, that's a feature you have to know. That's a feature short comparison I have made with traditional database and cloud database. Yeah. Now moving to the topic of the day, that is introduction to PolarDB. So now we are going to see a short introduction about PolarDB, the architecture of PolarDB, and what are the features of PolarDB we are going to see. Yeah. So now moving to PolarDB, it is a next generation relational database and it is developed by Alibaba Cloud. It is a proprietary product of Alibaba Cloud, and it is a just generation relational database. And now you have to know some of the PolarDB terms. Okay. So the first term you have to know is noise cluster. As I mentioned previously, the term cluster is very, very important in cloud computing. So cluster is nothing but a collection of instance or collection of node, we will tell. Collection of node is nothing but a collection of computers, we will tell as cluster. And you see in cluster, we can create one primary node and maximum 15 read-only nodes we can create in PolarDB. So that's a feature I already mentioned that. So this is a feature we will tell as read-write splitting. So we can create one primary node and 15 read-only nodes. Totally, we can create 16 nodes in cluster so that your request will be processed by the 16 nodes. So it's again, now you see here, the 16 nodes, you can decide how many read-only nodes you need and how many primary nodes you need based on your workload. That's another feature you have to know over here. So totally, we can create 16 nodes. We can create in a PolarDB cluster. Okay. Now moving to regions. So already I mentioned that if you are dealing with any cloud service provider, will have a region as well as zone. So region is nothing but a physical area or physical data center which is located in any of the region in the world. So in India, Alibaba Cloud has a region in Mumbai. Similarly for AWS, and you can consider any cloud service providers, the region should be there. And inside the region, we have more than one zone. So zone is a physical area in the region, and each and every data center is present in the zone is separated by individual power supply and networking, so that high availability will be there. So if one zone fails, and so that the next zone will be alive and it will process your request. So this is a feature you have to know. It's not related to Alibaba Cloud PolarDB, or it is related to any cloud databases or any cloud service provider will have the region and zone. So why I am mentioning region and zone over here is, the reason is, while creating a PolarDB cluster, what we have to do is we have to provide the region and zone. In my case, I will provide this. I will create a zone in. I will create a region and zone in Mumbai, since it's the nearest location to me. I will create that. So again, you can see here another feature you have to know over here. When creating a resource in a region, you will choose the region which is nearer to your location, or nearer to your proximity uses location. You will choose while selecting the regions and so on. And moving to the specifications. Now you have to provide the specification for the node, that is primary node, as well as the read-only nodes. You have to create a specification. You have to provide the specification. What kind of specification is needed for this particular node or cluster which you are going to create in Alibaba Cloud. So in my case, I have given an example as 2 CPU core and 8 GB memory. So in my case, I have created 2 CPU core and 8 GB. It has 16 GB memory. That's based on your workload. Again, see here, that's another feature you have to know in cloud. When you are moving to cloud, you can choose the specification of your instance or virtual machine based on your workloads. Your workload, you can choose the instance. Okay. In my case, since it's a demo, so what I have done is I have created a PolarDB cluster with a specification of 2 CPU cores and 8 GB memory. This is a feature you got. This is a basic terms you got to know. And now moving to the architecture diagram for PolarDB. So now you have to know here. So already I mentioned that we have primary node and read-only node. So totally we can have 16 nodes or 16 instance we can create in PolarDB. So here, read write, you can see here the first totally 3 nodes are present over here. Since there is no space for providing the 16 read-only node, 16 nodes, here we have provided 3 nodes, and you see one node is a read write node. This is a primary node. We'll tell as primary node, and 2 read-only nodes are there. Okay, 2 read-only nodes are there, and again you have to know here we have decoupling architecture is present over in this diagram. No, decoupling. What is decoupling? You have to know the storage node and the database node is separated each other. So your actual data will be stored in the storage node. That is data chunk server. We tell as data chunk server. So our actual data will be stored in data chunk server, which is provided over the below. You can find that. And where the metadata of this particular data stored will be stored in the database server. That's a DB server engine we will tell. DB server. This is the thing you have to know clearly. So this is another feature of any cloud databases. We are going to decouple the storage as well as the database node. Storage node and the database node we are going to decouple. And in this case, we are going to do is we are going to separate this DB server and database chunk server by using remote direct memory access, RDMA network link. This is high-speed network link will be available between the database chunk server and the database server. And again, to provide the consistency, the data is stored in different servers, and to provide the consistency, we are going to use parallel raft protocol. This is a feature you have to know over here. And you see here, we are going to provide the load balancer. Why we are providing the load balancer is the reason is, you see, we are going to create 16 nodes we can create. In PolarDB, we can create 16 nodes. And again, one node will be a primary node, that's read write. It will do read write operation, and all the other 50 nodes will do read operation. So what we have to do, we have to separate the read write request and the read request. So we have to do that. For that, what we are going to do is we are going to have a read write splitter with load balancer. So load balancer is used to balance the load and to distribute the load to the backend service, backend database service which is available. And this is the short architecture for Alibaba Cloud PolarDB. So this is the important feature you have to know over here is it's a decoupling architecture. It's a decoupling is there between the storage node and the database node. So that's the important feature you have to know over here. And how we are going to connect the database chunk server. That is where the data is stored is nothing but it is stored in the database chunk server and the database server. We are going to connect by using RDMA, high performance link, network connectivity link we are going to use, and we are going to provide the consistency by using parallel raft protocol. That's a short introduction about architecture about Alibaba Cloud PolarDB. Now we can see some of the features of Alibaba Cloud PolarDB. As I mentioned previously, there is one primary node and multiple read-only nodes. Totally, we can have 16 nodes. One primary node will be there. It is going to provide read-write operation, and we can have 15 read-only nodes, which is going to provide exclusively, which is going to provide only read operation. That's the thing you have to know clearly over here. And active failover, you have to know another feature. That's active failover. If one primary node fail, another secondary node, or that's nothing but the read-only nodes will become a primary node, and it will provide the request for the client. Okay, that's the thing will tell us it is active failover is there. Immediately when the primary nodes fails, one of the read-only nodes will become as a primary node, and it will serve the request of the client or the user. And compute and storage decoupling. This is a feature I mentioned in when I am explaining the architecture diagram. PolarDB decouples compute from the storage. So actual compute and the storage is decoupled. So the data will be stored in the different chunk service or different clusters or different storage machines, and your compute will be happen in a different machine. So both are separated. So database compute node will tell us database engine service. Store only the metadata. Already I mentioned that database server, engine server will store only the metadata, and actual data will be stored in the database storage node service, which is present in the remote locations, different locations, and it is connected by using RDMA protocol. RDMA high-speed network link we are going to use. And read-write splitting is another feature. Already I mentioned this feature also. That's we can distribute the read-write requests among the different nodes which is available in the backend. So read request will be processed by the read-only node, and write request will be processed by the read write node or primary node. This is another feature we are going to use in MongoDB. And now high speed network connection. That's we are going to connect the storage node with the compute node. That's decoupling is there between the storage node and compute node. So for connecting the storage node and computing node, we are going to use a remote direct memory access protocol, and high speed connectivity is used for accessing both the compute, for connecting both compute node and 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 remote storage node and shared distributed storage. Now you have to know some terms about distributed storage. So already I hope everyone may be knowing about distributed storage. So data is stored in different locations and different servers so that we can scale the database to a TB level. So if you are going to store the data in a single instance, its scaling is very, very difficult. It is not possible. So when we are dealing in a traditional database, we will deal with GB level of data. It is possible for you. But when you are dealing with enterprise level applications, it is not possible to scale for 100 TB in a single instance. It is not possible. So in a distributed storage, it is possible to scale up to 100 TB of data. That since data is not stored in a single database server, we can store 100 of TB of data using distributed storage and distributed file system. So data will be stored in different nodes, and it is not stored in a single node. That's the thing you have to know about distributed storage feature. And multiple data replicas. As I mentioned in the diagram, data replica is present in the data chunk server, and the consistency of this particular replicated data, which is present in different data chunk servers, is provided by parallel raft protocol. That's a feature you have to know. So now moving to some of the advantages of Alibaba Cloud Polar DB. So as I mentioned, it can support 100 TB of data. Yeah, that's a main feature. No, you have to know. In traditional database, we can store only GB level data. Now you see, when we are talking about Polar DB or enterprise applications, we will talk about GB level, TB level of data. So you see here, 100 TB of data can be stored in a single cluster. That's an enormous amount of data. So enterprise organization or enterprise or organization, it will be more useful for them if they are using Alibaba Cloud Polar DB. And you see maximum 16 nodes, one primary node and 15 read-only node we can use. So now it is using decoupled architecture. Already mentioned that storage node and the compute node is separated by using RDMA, high level connectivity and RDMA protocol. And upgrading and downgrading of instance can be done within a minute. That's another feature. No, you can upgrade the instance if you are initially you are using 2 CPU core and 32 GB storage, 32 GB RAM. You can upgrade to 64 GB, or you can downgrade within a minute. And you see another feature, you can support 5 lakh read-only read request per second. You see the amount, no? 5 lakh read request can be supported, and 1,50,000 write request can be supported per second. That's another feature. No, you see, that's the thing I told. No, current enterprise applications. No, you see, this is a scenario normally happens. You see, if you are working with, if you are experienced with big billion day, no, big billion day in Flipkart or Amazon, no, what will happen actually? Lakhs of request-based process will be sent from the client or from the user within a second. How to process that? No, it is difficult to process by using a traditional databases. So by using these cloud databases such as PolarDB, what we can do is we can process 1,50,000 write requests per second and 5 lakh read requests per second. And data backup. No, you see another feature. Within 30 seconds, we can get the database backup, full database backup. Even the database size is 100 TB or 50 TB, 1 TB, no, we can get that within 30 seconds. That how we can do that, how it is achieved, that is nothing but by using distributed computing. No, data is stored in different nodes, and within a second, no, we can access all the data which is present in the different nodes, and we can create a backup. That's another feature, important feature you have to know about here. In the 30 seconds, within the 30 seconds, the size is not an issue here. If a size is 1 TB storage, 1 TB, but database size is 1 TB or 100 TB or 50 TB, your data will be got backup within 30 seconds. That's another feature, and you can get the database backup 24 bars on it. Anytime you can get the database backup. That's another feature. These are the different features of PolarDB. So now, yeah, it is time is nearly 9:30, so I need another 30 minutes for showing a demo with you. Okay, so now we see what I am going to do is I am going to create Alibaba Cloud PolarDB cluster or PolarDB instance, and then in that particular instance or cluster, what I am going to do is I am going to create a database account first, and then I am going to create a database, and then I am going to access the database. And in that database which is created, I am going to create a, a table, and I am going to insert the data in that particular table. This is the thing I am going to do. So now I hope everyone may know, I hope that I'm going to show this as a demo to you. The reason is I can now if I am creating a PolarDB cluster, it will take 5 to 10 minutes for creating the PolarDB cluster. So already I have created a cluster before starting this particular session, and I will explain that particular PolarDB instance which is created first. Later, I have recorded a video on how to create a PolarDB cluster, and I will share that video, and I will explain you how the database cluster is created in Alibaba Cloud PolarDB. Okay, so without any ado, I am going to start the demo. So before this, let me explain the steps. What are the steps I am going to follow? So first, what I am going to do is I am going to create a PolarDB instance, or we can tell different names for this PolarDB instance, or we can tell as PolarDB cluster. Then I am going to create an account, database account I am going to create, and then I am going to create table, and I am going to access this table by using database management service. It's another service which is available. It's a service by which we can access any databases. Centralized way to access any database which is present in Alibaba cloud is by using data management service. Okay, so let me share the screen again. Yeah, I hope that it's clear. So we completed the first part, that is we completed what is Alibaba Cloud PolarDB. Alibaba Cloud PolarDB is a next generation cloud native database, and we can create 16 nodes we can create in Alibaba Cloud PolarDB. So now I am going to share the screen so we can see. Yeah, now, yeah, I hope that my screen is visible. Yes, now you see this is a PolarDB. So this is a PolarDB console. Yeah, now you can go to overview. You can find how many clusters are created, how many PolarDB clusters are created, and how many PolarDB cluster is running, and which is recently created. You have to find. So now you see I am going to clusters. You click the clusters. So already I have created a cluster. You see the time which I created this cluster. By today I have created a cluster. Now if you want, you can create a cluster. No, I will explain this later. I already mentioned that. I will explain how to create a cluster after explaining the cluster which I have created. So now I will click this. No, this is a cluster which I have created. So now I will click this. Yeah. So now you see. Yeah, this is a PolarDB cluster which is created in Mumbai region. This is what I told. No, we have to know about regions and zones. Already I mentioned when I am explaining about PolarDB. So in which region I have created the PolarDB cluster? You see in Mumbai, and which zone? In Mumbai zone A. In Mumbai there are zone A, B, and C. Zone A and B I have created a cluster. Okay, so now this is VPC. This is a VPC vSwitch, in which VPC you are going to create, which is you are going to create, and this is a billing method you have to know clearly. So it is nothing is free in cloud. That's another feature you have to know. It's not a feature. You have to know that. No, it's a basic thing. No, nothing free in the cloud. So here I have used pay as you go. So what I have to do is I have to I have to pay for what I am going to use. If I am going to use this cluster for 1 hour, I have to pay for 1 hour. For 2 hours I have to pay for 2 hours. No, if I am going to if you are planning for a long term usage, what you can do is you can go for a subscription model. Okay, now this is for short demo, so I am going with pay as you go model. Okay, so now you see this is something you have to know clearly. Primary node is a primary node and the secondary nodes. Now in my case, what I have done is I have created one primary node and one read-only node. So minimum we need one primary node and one read-only node. But since it is a demo, now I didn't create it further read-only nodes. Totally I can create 15 read-only nodes. Again, how we will create this is based on our workload. That's another feature. No, another thing you have to know when you are working with the cloud, you got to analyze your workloads. What is your workload? How many read requests you can get? How many expected read requests you can get from the usage? So based on that, we can create read-only nodes. In my case, no, since it's a demo, I have created only one read-only node and one primary node. And it is active failure. That's another feature you have to know over here. It's active failure. If the primary node fail, automatically this read-only node will become as a primary node. That's another feature you have to know. In this case, no, you see, you can find everything in a visualized way. This is a primary node. This is secondary. The secondary or not secondary is a read-only node. This is available, and you can find the primary endpoints and cluster endpoint is there. So what you can do, the primary endpoint is nothing but the link, the database. If you want to connect the database by using any client, any database client, or by using your application, your application, you have to need a public endpoint. So now what I can do is I can first what I have to do is first I have to apply for primary endpoint. Once I apply for the primary endpoint, within few seconds I will get the endpoint, and I can get this endpoint. No, now this is regarding PolarDB overview, which the cluster which I created. The cluster name is PolarDB underscore C underscore 1. So now you see, once the cluster is ready, now you have to create a database account. Okay, I have created an account over here. Okay, I will explain this process later. And after creating the database account, what you have to do is you have to create a database. This is the database. Now you see e-app. This is a database which I have created. Okay, so in between you have to know one more feature, that is you have to give whitelist. You have to add the whitelist. The reason is, so by default, no one can access the database which you have created, the PolarDB cluster which is created. If you want to make access to everyone, you have to provide the whitelist. This is the whitelist 0.0.0./0. This is the, so if you are providing this, no, what I can access, anyone from the external world can access this particular PolarDB cluster. Okay, so if you want, you can provide the IP also. If you can provide some IP over here, so that IP alone can access the PolarDB cluster which is created. That is another feature you got to know over here. When you are working with any cloud service provider, no, any databases or any services in Amazon or Azure, no, this particular whitelist is very important. So who can access your instance which is created? That is provided by using whitelist. Okay, in my case, I provided as 0.0.0/0. That is nothing but anyone from the external world can access this particular PolarDB cluster which is created. Okay, so this is a feature you have to know. Now you see, I'm going to database. Yeah, now database is ready. Yes, already I have created this. Okay, now you see, you go to SQL query. Now how to manage this database? By using data management services, another service which is available. It's a free service which is available in Alibaba cloud. So you can use that for managing the data which is created in the PolarDB cluster. Okay, so now you see, I am going to click SQL query. Yeah, now it is ready. Our data management service is ready. Yes, it is coming. Yeah. Yes, it is ready. Yes. Now, initially, when you are connecting this, no, it will ask username password. So already I have created the username password by using this database account. Now you see, account I have created. So you have to provide the username and password over here. So since I have connected prior, it is not asking the username and password. Okay, now you see, these are the different tables which is available over here. Now you see, select star from, providing select star from user details SU. You can provide SU. So it's there, no, details which I already stored here over here. It is present over here. Now this is nothing but you may work with the MySQL Workbench or head SQL or some other client tools. No, same thing. We can create a table. So if you can write some queries for creating the table over here, for selecting the query, all the SQL queries which may be working with MySQL or PolarDB, MySQL or SQL Server will be working over here. This is a management studio, we can tell. No, it is a management studio. So this is a management. You see, databases. What are the different database instances available? In my case, no, there is only one instance which is available over here. So it is present over here. Okay, this is the way, no, you can manage the database which is created. This is one of the way. Okay, so now what I am going to do is I am going to manage the database from the client tool. Okay, so I hope everyone may be knowing about head SQL, or you may be knowing about Workbench. SQL Workbench, no, is another important tool which we will be using in all the organization for connecting the database. Okay, now you see, I will be using head SQL. Okay, head SQL. Head SQL is another client tool which we can use for connecting the any database service. No, you can connect using you can connect PolarDB, or you can connect AWS, in AWS, no, recently I connected in AWS, no, I connected AWS, no, RTS database, no, RTS for MySQL database, I connected by using the DSQL. So it's, we can use, you know, can connect any database we can connect. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this. Okay. DSQL. Yeah. So now new, you click new. Yeah. Now the host name and IP, you have to provide the endpoint URL. No, so that's how, from where you can get this. Now you go to the PolarDB console, you go to overview. Yeah. Now you see public endpoint. This is the endpoint through which we can access this particular database which is created. Okay. Access the PolarDB cluster which is created. Now you have to copy this. You have to copy this, and you have to provide this URL over here. Okay, MySQL. You see, this is an endpoint URL which I have created for this particular accessing the cluster. Okay, so now as usual, you have to provide the username. Where you can find the username. Now you see, go to accounts. You go to accounts, you can find the username over here. Yes, you copy this username and paste it over here. And password, I have provided already. No, I have created the password. Now I am not revealing that over here. Okay, now click open. Yeah, now you see I can access the database. You see, this is the database which is created e-app and biodata and user details. Okay, so as usual, no, from any client tool we can access the database which is created in the PolarDB cluster. Okay, that's a thing, short introduction about how to create a cluster, and how to create a database account, and how to create a database, and how to access the database by using client tool. Okay, so now you see what I am going to do is I am going to create an application now. Okay, later, no, at last I will explain, if time is there, I will explain how to create a cluster. I will explain the demo. That's I already recorded the video. I already mentioned that if you want to create a cluster, it will take 5 to 10 minutes. No, yeah, it will take 5 to 10 minutes. So we are not creating the cluster, but I will explain you how to create a cluster by using the recorded video which I have done previously. Okay, so now what I am going to do is I am going to create an application. Okay, I am going to create this. Our topic is we are to create enterprise application by using Alibaba Cloud for RDB. So now how I am going to create the application is, so I have an application. I have done an application in GitHub. So I will show that application in GitHub first. Okay, I will explain that application in GitHub. First, I will explain the particular application which is present in my GitHub repository. Yeah. Yeah, this is web designing with Kavas. This is a repository. So if you want, now you see this is an application, simple application. No, so the card biodata application. I have this application over here. Yes. Now you see this is a. I hope you may be familiar with PHP. Yes, PHP and database queries. Okay, now we have to provide if you want to connect with the database, no, we have to provide the URL. Endpoint URL, that is nothing but we have to provide the server name where the server is located, and we have to provide the username, password, as well as what we have to provide the database that you have to provide in config.php. Okay, normally you see server, in my case, this case, no, I am providing the server is in the local host. Okay, so local host, the password, username, password, and the database name you have to provide over here. Okay, this is a sample application. Okay, now config. Now this is one of the user setting. This is one of the PHP file. One of the form I have done that. Okay, now the same form we are going to do it by using Alibaba Cloud PolarDB. Okay, so now this is the thing. Okay, this is the application. Now if you want, you can access this application. You can go to my repository, github.com/gavaskar07. So that now you can access this application and you can download the application and you can try to create an application. No, it's not by using PolarDB. You can create by using MySQL. Okay, so now this is the application I am going to do. What I have done is I have created a simple application server. No, I have created a simple application server in Alibaba Cloud. Okay, this is another service which is available. So I got you are getting confused. Okay, that's not an issue. Okay, so now you see what I'm going to do is I have created another service in Alibaba Cloud. In that service, I have posted the same application which I have shown in the GitHub repository. Okay, now this is simple application server. Yeah, this is a server which I have purchased. Okay, so now you see this is a simple application server which I have purchased. So now I have purchased one domain also. You see, floss.cloud. This is another domain which I purchased, and I have binded this domain to this particular server which I have purchased. Okay. So now I am going to access this particular files which is present in the particular server. How I can access this is by using. So I will explain this by using this. You see here, I will get an IP. This is a public IP which I will get. Yeah. Now you see, I am getting yes username password. Okay. I am going to provide the password. Login. Yeah. Now you see, this is a plus admin panel. This is admin panel for any server. No, if you are working with website hosting, you can find this find this option over there. So now I am going to access the files. Okay, htdos. Okay. So now you see the same application, no, which is present over here. Config file is there, user setting is there. The same application I have posted in the server. Okay, I have purchased a simple application server. It is similar to Elastic Beanstalk in AWS. So that server I have posted this application. Okay. Now you see in config what I got. You see that's a very important thing you have to know here. Now you see this is a server name. Okay, this is server name is nothing but I will get this from sorry. Okay, now I will get this from this cluster. Okay, from this PolarDB cluster. Okay, I will show you that again. Yeah. Yeah. Now listen. I will show you how to get this. I already mentioned that no, this getting the cluster endpoints. Okay, so click this. Okay, so now you can find this. No, this is a cluster endpoint. You got to get this cluster endpoint. Okay, now you have to put that over here. Okay, this is already I mentioned here. I put this over here. Okay, now you have to paste it over here. Okay, so now username and password. This is a password. I am revealing the password now. I will anyway after this end of the session, what I will do is I will delete this cluster. Okay, so that there's not an issue. So now you see you have to provide the database name in two places. You have to do that. Okay, so now what I am going to do is this application is running in this simple application server and it is going to connect the database cluster which I have created. Yes, now you see what I am going to do. Listen, now I am going to access this particular application. You see flows.cloud. Okay, yeah, it's ready. Yes, it's an enterprise application. Yes, now this is a simple application. No, this is a demo application. So now what I had to do is you go to user setting. Yeah, Gavaskar one Harry. You can find it over here. Now you see, I will select it from here. This is a DMS console. You see, I'm getting the details over here. You see, Gavaskar Harry. Yes, it's coming. No, detail is coming. Now you see what I'm going to do. I'm going to insert another detail. Okay. Now a demo user. Now I'm going to give some name or Ajin. No username. So I'm giving some name, password, some password. No. Gmail.com mobile number. So now you click save. You see, now the data is stored in PolarDB cluster. Now we see I will show here. Go to the DMS console, executes. Yeah, now we see the data is stored over here. Okay, so this is a simple way, no, to create an application. Okay, by using Alibaba Cloud PolarDB. So yeah. So that's a thing about demo about how to create an application. It's very simple. So you can create you see you can run the same application the local host also. That's also possible. If the time is not there, I'm not going to show that. You can just you have to provide the you have to change the server location. That's all. Server location is nothing but you have to provide the yeah, you see here. Yeah, you have to provide the server name. You have to change the endpoint, public endpoint, private, public endpoint. You have to provide it over here, and the corresponding username and the password you have to provide over there. Okay. So now in my case, no, I have created a simple application server. in Alibaba Cloud PolarDB, I have hosted the application, the simple application server, and you see I have binded the domain name also. Okay, I have purchased a domain name for this. That's what flows.cloud. This is a domain name I purchased, and since I binded that particular server with this domain name, directly I can access from the URL flows.cloud. Okay, that's the thing here. Okay, so now finally, last we are going to see how to create a cluster. Okay, so now I have to show, I have to go and select the video which I have recorded so that it will be easy for you. Okay, so documents. Yeah, 10 more minutes is there. So within that we can wind up. Yeah. Okay. Now you see, yeah, as usual, you have to select create cluster. Okay. In my case, you see here. In my case, there is no cluster. Yeah. See. Okay. Yeah. In my case, that I had till now I didn't created any cluster. So what I had to do? Create cluster. Okay. You have to provide create cluster. Okay. So now you see it will ask for product type. It will ask for that's whether you are going to use the cluster for long term or short term. Okay, in my case now I am going to select pay as you go model. Since I am going to use for short term, so I am going to use select pay as you go. Okay, pay as you go. And now you see you have to choose the location. You see here you have to choose the location region where you have to create this particular PolarDB cluster. Okay, that you have to provide over here. In my case, I am going to Asia Pacific in Mumbai. So now you see here, you can find different zones over here. Yeah, yeah, zone A and zone B is there. Okay, you did not want to choose this. Now you have to provide the VPC and VPC switch you have to provide. Okay, so already I have created the switch, so I am going to provide that. So if you want, you can create, or it will create dynamically. No, Alibaba Cloud will create that. No, now you see here, this is another thing you have to compatible engines you have to select. No, either you are going to choose MySQL 8.0. This is open source MySQL database uh, versions you have to choose over here. In my case, no, I'm going to choose 5.7. Okay, so that no, that is some amount of cost will be reduced for you. Yeah. So in my case, I'm going to choose 5.7. Yeah, 5.7. So now, yeah. Now you see this is another feature. No, I already mentioned that. No, node specification. What kind of nodes you are going to create? What is the node specification you are going to provide? In my case, I am going to provide 2 core and 8 GB. Already I mentioned that. No, 2 core 8 GB. For both primary and secondary, I am going to primary and read-only node. I am going to provide 2 core and 8 GB. Yeah. So now, yeah, you have to provide. You can find. You see here different types of specifications are there. 8 GB, 16 GB. I told already. No, 4 core, 64 core, 128 core. No, it's based on our workload. What kind of workload you are going to store, or what kind of traffic you will receive. That's you have to have a capacity scaling on that. Okay, based on that you have to select the node specification, time zone. Okay, time zone, and then you have to provide the no you can provide the time zone. Now myself I provided 5 like that. Okay, so you have to provide the time zone, and last no you have to provide the cluster name. Yes, you have to provide the cluster name. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Provide the cluster name. Yes, everything is, I am checking the selections I have made. You should be very careful when you are working with cloud. So you have to check 1 to 3 times before creating any resources in the cloud. Now you see I am going to create a resource group. Okay, already some resource group is there. So if you want to access the resource easily, no, I can create some resource group and I can group the resources. That's another feature, another important concept you have to know. Whenever you are creating a resource, if you are not using resource group, it's difficult to identify. When you are creating some enterprise applications, no, you have to create hundreds of resources you have to create. So we have to group the resource in a particular tag or particular name so that it will be easy for us. Yeah, this is creating. No, it is taking some time to create it. Yeah, it's done. No, it's not created. So now you can refresh this and you can find the yeah. So I am going to create a resource. Yes. Now you see the cost 0. 252 per hour. Okay. So you have to check. I'm checking this again. Yeah, when I'm selecting PS level 2 level, that's storage level. No, it's different storage level I can choose. That's nothing but Alibaba Cloud has different levels of storage. Yeah, you see, if I'm using general specification, it is the cost will be more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going with sticking with the minimum cost. Okay, now I'll single node cluster. You can choose many options. No, you see, it's yeah. You see, single node cluster is not possible. No, you see, endpoint is not supported. So that only, no, you see here, this is another feature. You see, if you are using single node, the price will be less, 0.136 per hour. But you see, this is smart. It will not support what endpoint. It will not support endpoint, and it will not support read splitting. So that's the thing. No, based on your features, you can do that. Yeah, I need cluster endpoint for connecting. No, so this is not possible. So I have to go for cluster edition. Yeah. Yeah, now it is done. Now it is created. Okay, so you have to activate this. Yeah, this is a cluster creation process. So I hope, yeah, yeah. After the cluster is created, now what you have to do is you have to create a database account and a database. You have to create a database. After creating the database, directly you can access. You can create a table and you can create your own applications. Yeah, done. It is done. Yes, you see, you have to choose the region. In my case, now I have created in Mumbai. Okay, so now you can find the resource. You see here, it is creating. Okay, I already mentioned you that it will take nearly 5 to 10 minutes for creating the cluster. Okay, so I have to skip some steps. Okay, so now you see this creating. Okay, so I will go there. Now it's again you can find it is creating. It is creating. Okay, it's creating. Yes, it will take 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so I have to. So frequently I have to refresh the page and I have to find whether the cluster creation process is completed or not. Yes, again it is creating. Yeah, it's done. So now cluster creation is done. Now what I have to do is first I have to create the whitelist. Okay. Already I mentioned that what is whitelist is an important feature. If you are dealing with any cloud, if you're dealing with multi-cloud, the important feature is whitelist. If you want to access the particular database cluster, you have to provide from which IP you can access that particular cluster. Okay. Hello underscore on. I'm providing this. So if I'm providing 0.0.0.0/0, it will allow any IP to access this particular cluster. Okay, so I am providing 0.0.0. Okay, so the first thing I have to do. Then what I have to do is I have to create account. Okay, I have to create accounts. I have to go to account option which is available over here. Yes, accounts. Okay, now create account. So you have to create an account to access your cluster. So I am giving account of PolarDB underscore user underscore user. Yes, now it is a standard. Now you have to click a standard account. Yes, database till now it didn't create it in database, so I cannot access the database over here. Yes, now you have to provide the password, username and the password you have to provide over here. It's not username, it's a password you have to provide over here, and you have to provide the confirm password also. Yes, finally you have to create an account. Yes, okay, now the user is created, the account is created. So now you can go to databases and you can create the database. Now create database. Very simple, just you got to provide the database name. In my case, e-app. Okay, e-app. I am going to provide e-app. Okay, so now you have to select the account. Okay, already I have created this account, it is coming over there. Okay, so you can select the account, or you can first you can create the database, and later you can attach the database account over here. Yes, nice. Yeah, now database is created. So now as usual, once the database is created, what you can do, you can access the database by using the DMS console. So this is a steps I explained for you. Now it will ask for, you see here, it will ask for the database account and the password. Initially it will ask for database account and the password first time. Later when you want to connect, it will connect directly. Okay, this is a step I mentioned already. You see, now click login. Yes, it's done. Yes, so that's all from the demo desk. So I hope you understand this. Okay, now you see, go to the instance. You can find the instance over here in the top. You see instance connected one. So many features are there. You see, you can find, this is a previously I have done some database connectivities over here. So you can find DMS is one of the important tool in Alibaba Cloud. You see, you can connect to any database. If you want to connect to ClickHouse database, or if you want to connect to the SQL Server database, or if you want to connect with NoSQL databases, HBase, or any database if you want to connect, we'll use DMS service for doing that in Alibaba Cloud. Okay. In my case, you see here, yeah, so it's done. No. So this is a short steps of how to create a database cluster. Yeah, how to create a database cluster, and how to create a database in that particular cluster, and how to create an account, and how to create IP whitelist, and finally we have learned how to access the application, how to create an application that can use the PolarDB cluster and display the data from the database which is created in the PolarDB cluster. Okay, so now moving to, yeah, I'll announce the key takeaway, then we can go for the Q&A session. So now moving to the key takeaway, we are providing a level 1 certificate for all the participants who are present. Okay, so now I will explain how to get the certificate. So now this is the URL. Okay, I'll show this URL over here. Yeah, I'll post this URL in the chat. Okay, so I have provided the URL in the chat, and as well as I will provide the speaker code which you have to use. Okay. Yes, it's done. Yes, now you see, I will share the screen and I will explain the process how to download the same. Okay, now you click that URL. So you can find the option getting started with Alibaba Cloud for RDB. So this is already recorded session. This is one of the session which is we have recorded already. The same thing what I have done over here, click present over here. So now you can provide. So just you click and you can provide the password. Now I am providing some other password here. Okay. The reason is the same password. If now you see, you can provide the organization name. Yes. If you want, you can provide our password. Now we click. Okay. So now you see, you can find the option client certificate. Okay. You can find the option client certificate. So or take the quiz. If you are taking this quiz, you can get the certificate directly from Alibaba Cloud. You will be taken to the Alibaba Cloud website. So if you have no account in Alibaba Cloud, you have to create an account in Alibaba Cloud. Free account you can create without providing the credit card or payment details. You can create a free account. Okay. So after creating the account, you can answer the quiz. Okay. the same concept what I explained in this particular session. Quizzes will be there. 15 quizzes you have to attend, and you can get the certificate directly from Alibaba Cloud. And this is a certificate we are going to provide to you. That is a level out certificate. That's you just you click claim certificate, and it will ask for your it will ask for the name. You have to provide your name, your phone number, as well as your mail ID, and just you click this tabs and conditions. Now you click next. It will ask for the speaker code. Okay, secret code. Okay, now you have to get the secret code. So I will get the secret code. This is the secret code. Yeah. So now I am providing the secret code over here. So I have already shared the secret code in the chart. You can find it. Now go to next, just click submit. Okay. So now you will get a link to download the certificate to your corresponding mail which you have provided, and you can get the certificate. Okay. And moreover, no, you can showcase your certificate in LinkedIn or in any other social media platforms. You can showcase your certificate. And one more thing, you can find more number of sessions over here. Find more number of sessions over here. Yeah, this is a different sessions available, and you can get the certificate for this particular sessions also through this. No, the speaker will be announcing the code at the end of the session. They will be announcing the code, and you can use that code for downloading the certificate. You can find more number of AWS Glue. All these are enterprise sessions. No, those sessions correlated by engineers from top level companies. No, we can get it. Now we can find, if you want to find some events, you can find some useful stuffs over here. These are the upcoming events. You see AWS Glue overview, ML app using Azure Data Factory, ML, and this person is working in Microsoft in USA. He's a data scientist in Microsoft. Actually, he's going to provide the session over here. I think he is going to cover the whole part of ADF, Azure ML, and Synapse Analytics and Power BI. So the whole thing will be covered over here. This session is going to happen in 28 January 2023, and you see this is an Azure session. Okay, so that's a starting. I hope that you got downloaded the certificate. Any issues or any queries regarding this session, you can ask now. Yeah, I think I'll unmute all the participants. Yeah. So now participants, you can unmute, and you can unmute yourself, and you can have some Q&A sessions. We can have some Q&A sessions if you have any questions. No. Yeah. You can send your questions in the chat. Yes. Yeah. Anyone?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. I would like to say it was really informative session, but I have some queries regarding the security of data that we are provided by the Polarity.
Security.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, security, no, RSA level, RSA algorithm we are going to use. It's an internal process. No, internally, no, Alibaba Cloud will provide security. But see here, endpoint, we are getting the endpoint, and we are going to connect using the endpoint. But internal level, no, it's basic security is provided by using the username and password. Internally, no, RSA algorithm, different set of algorithms Alibaba Cloud is using for securing the data. And moreover, the data which is stored in the database chunk server, it is encrypted, and it will be stored in the over there. Okay, that's the thing. In cloud, no, you should not want to afraid about your security issue. Right? The security breach should not be there. But while we are, that's another feature. No, you see here. In my case, no, I provide the database endpoint, username and password I have provided over there. Now there is a security breach is there in my application. No, that's the thing that we have to do. That something we have to protect that. But data once stored in the cloud or in database, no, it is 100% is the product. It is encrypted, and that particular data will be stored in the cluster or in the database chunk server. Okay, that's the thing. So again, another feature I had to tell to you, we can provide our own security key also. Okay, we can provide our own security key, and for that, no separate service is there. Okay, I think I'm not remembering the service name. We can save the security credentials in that particular service, and we can access that from there also. Okay, that's another. That's all. But when we are providing the credentials, we should be somewhat we should be cautious in this, so that anyone can access your cluster. If you are providing the username and password and as well as the cluster endpoint, anyone can access your data. Okay. Any more doubts?
No, sir. Thank you.
So I think there is no doubts. So again, I will I have to thank the multi-cloud for you and Alibaba Cloud completed the event, and I think Andre is an head of marketing of Alibaba Cloud is over here, and we had to thank Andre and his team for giving support to multi-cloud for you for conducting this particular event. And once again, I like to thank Soumya Paranjal for hosting the session on behalf of multi-cloud for you. And I like to thank all the participants. I think that you got a short insights on how to work with the cloud databases. So you can find different cloud databases different from different service providers. I hope you understand how to connect to how to create a PolarDB cluster and how to create an account, how to create a whitelist, and how to create a database, and how to access the database from the client tool. The first thing you have to do, okay, how to access the database from the client tool by using client tool. And finally, I have revealed and I have created an application in my GitHub repository, and I have access to this particular database which I created in PolarDB by using the application which I have created. Okay, so uh, once again, I like to thank all the participants for your patient listening, and I'd like to thank Andrew and his team from Alibaba Cloud as well as Samya Paranjay for hosting the session. Thank you, participant. Thank you once again. If you
Uh,
are okay,
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Gavaskar.
Mr. Kavaska.
Okay. Thank you
Thank you.
so much, Gavaskar, for the wonderful session. And thank you so much, all the participants, for attending the session. I hope you like session, and the session was really very informative. Thank you so much, all.
So wonderful. Kavaska gave
yeah,
us a really wonderful presentation.
yeah. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for your wonderful support provided to us. Thank you.
Yeah, to be my honest and my pleasure.
It was really well explained, sir. Thank you for your
Okay, thank
time.
you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.